I was outside my body, sitting beside what I thought to be a man dressed in a white robe, with a brilliant aura of light outlining his entire body. I realized now that there was no pain within my being. He began to speak. If you like near-death experiences, consider subscribing. Also like the video so you can receive more interesting and eye-opening stories. Alright, let's get to the story.
My name is Kristen Malcolm, and my out-of-body experience occurred when I was 21 years old, and in seemingly good health. I was visiting my parents, as my usual, once-a-month trip, and so far, everything appeared to be within that usual and normal visit, at least until bedtime. 9 p.m. rolled around, and I was instructed to sleep in my brother's old room. I had never been allowed in that room when I was younger. My brother was very private and a neat sort of person, and he did not want me in there, or anyone that I can recall. Dad and I watched TV for a few more hours, and now it was a bit after 11 p.m. I said my goodnights and gave him a kiss on his cheek, and now I was on my way to the most interesting trip of my entire life. Finding this room, just the way it was left 10 years earlier, was what was in my thoughts at that time. Looking to see why and what was so special here, that it remained a shrine for my brother. It didn't feel cozy, and I was glad to be leaving the next day, because another night in this room was more than I felt that I wanted to deal with. As I am drifting off to sleep, my sight had a new angle, and I noticed I was lying on my back, with my arms crossed, like I was in a casket. My realization was that I saw me from a new direction, and I watched myself for a few more moments. Then I floated around the room, in the calmest manner. Now this room was becoming more than I ever could have imagined. This was fun, and something to make even the most analytical person become perplexed. It was time to go outside, and I was headed for the window. However, as I turned slowly, there was darkness, and a small light at the apparent end. In this tunnel, I could see glimpses of dark blue, purple, and gold specks, illuminating the walls of this long and very quiet tunnel. The tranquility that was within there is now capturing my entire being, and was enough for this highly anxious girl to want to stay here for a long while. As I am floating toward the light, I felt compelled to continue this uncertain and positive experience. The light is becoming brighter and larger, and all I could feel is the presence of good, and now I'm for sure this is where I need to be. Finally, the end of the tunnel is here, and I am enveloped in that same light, that without a word spoken, directed me here. Within a few seconds, a lady appeared to tell me that I had a choice, and that I was young. Looking at her was my new agenda. Who is she? I don't recognize her, but she seems to know me. I continue to do a checklist of her characteristics. She has shoulder-length, strawberry reddish hair, and very pale skin. Her eyes were a stunning blue. At this point, it did not matter where I knew her from, or who she is. I had a choice to make, and she made me feel that time was of the essence. I wanted to stay, but had remembered her saying that I was young. What did that mean? Does that really have anything to do with my choice? She was about 50 years old and looked extremely happy. What a decision to make. This is the best vacation ever. No stress, no money needed, never having to write out another bill, or worse, talk to the bill collector. I need more time, but she gave an insistent order to make my choice and said whatever I choose will be fine. At that time, I turned around, back to the direction I had so calmly came from, and was immediately pulled back through the dark tunnel. It was so fast that I didn't see any of the magical colors within the dark travel. I was bolted back into my old body, and I was, at that point, a bit shaken up. Now it is time for me to evaluate this trip, so I headed to speak to my father, who was half asleep on the couch, with the TV still blaring. He insisted my adventure was a dream, and told me to go back to sleep. I knew that I had not been to sleep, and that this was something real and very special. That was enough for me, so I got a sip of Coca-Cola, and proceeded back to bed. I had hopeful thoughts, that someday I would be honored again once more. That day has still not arrived, but I am waiting patiently for my next really relaxing permanent vacation, and yes, with God. Second experience. Last night was very different from being peaceful and serene, or at least it started out with mega pain and distress. I now know that it was gallbladder issues and many stones. The pain was unbearable. My girls came in around 11 p.m., and I was just uncomfortable at that time. But it proceeded to elevate to a full-blown case of stabbing, burning, and throbbing pain inside my belly, and shooting pains around my body. I prayed for relief and some sleep. By 12:40 p.m., My level of pain was immense. As I lay there on my back moaning and thrashing about the bed, all of a sudden, I was outside my body, sitting beside what I thought to be a man dressed in a white robe, with a brilliant aura of light outlining his entire body. I realized now that there was no pain within my being. He began to speak, so I turned my head to see him more clearly. There was no face or body. The outline was filled with the colors of purple, dark blue, and pink. Large lines of color were lining the inside of this figure, and the aura was so bright around him. After my quick inspection of his presence, he told me that I had taught my girls all that I need to from this earth, and the rest I can show them from the other side. All of a sudden, my youngest daughter opened a door and made me literally jump back in my old, tired, and painful body. I was annoyed with that interruption, but just asked her to please be quiet and go back to bed. Now, I am going to try my best to get comfortable and try to fall asleep. It was at least an hour of the same hurt that had earlier plagued my physical being. Last time I looked at the clock, it was 12:57. It felt like minutes from that time I left my body and entered the large brightness of white light. It was so calm and pain-free. I want and need to find that presence that at that moment I felt that he was God, my Lord and Savior. Where is he? I don't see anyone or anything, but no fears were there, and the calmness and peacefulness remained. The only thing I heard was one short sentence, and he told me to come on. I was going, no doubt about it. Then there was a loud rattle of paper. Paige was wrestling with a bag of chips. I slammed right back in my body again. Oh my, I am more than annoyed now. It is high frustration. The pain is back and Paige is still up. I need to suffer alone and really want to search for that place and who I believe to be God. Another hour passed, with the same old occurring in my body. Help me is all I can think. I start praying, and now I am feeling that floating sensation once again. The only difference now is that I am in complete darkness, but I am in no pain, and it is still very tranquil. This is still very much all right by me. I will look for that light, and I did for a moment, until Paige startled me for the third and last time. What I said next shocked me, as I yelled at her for not letting me get to God. I meant to say to her that I was trying to get to sleep. My guilt was now very high for yelling at her, and now my pain was also high again. Within a few hours, I called Rusty to take me to the hospital. There we found the problem with my gallbladder. It is going to require surgery. After having 3 out-of-body experiences in one night, I believe now I can relax a bit about my condition and this upcoming surgery. God will never give us more than we can bear. I saw that, and I saw him sitting beside me as my friend. What a friend we have in Jesus. That song comes to my mind a lot now. Whatever fears we have, or questions too. God gives clarity and an insight that most will never know until moments like these happen. I have been blessed. My written account is what I leave here for others to know. At least I have an idea about the afterlife. Watch this near-death experience next about a man who has died and seen what a prayer and fasting can do to a demon. He also has seen 2 entities talking about his destiny. I'll see you there.